Hey guys, it's Amy, and I'm very excited about today's video because I will be talking about horror movies. This is for people that maybe have never seen a horror movie, or someone that is terrified by them, or someone that really just wants to know where to start. Horror basically overlaps sci-fi films and film noir. And if you just kind of keep that in mind, I feel like that might help you moving forward with horror. I also say horror, weird. Let me know how you say horror in the comments below. So I have a list of 10 movies that I think are a great starting point. First on the list is Beetlejuice, 1988's version of Beetlejuice, so far the only one we've had. You can rent it on Amazon for $2. Now, I have notes, guys. I came prepared. Why should you watch Beetlejuice? So Beetlejuice has a crap ton of weird looking creatures, and that really sets you up for success in the future because horror movies have a lot of weird looking creatures, like humanistic bodies with funky faces. There's also some crazy makeup on humans that I think would be a good stepping stone to accepting clowns if you're not super into clowns. So we're talking like Pennywise from It or Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So Beetlejuice has a lot of weird makeup, and I think it's important to watch it, and it's also really fun. Yeah, I highly recommend watching that. If you have, awesome. If you haven't, do watch it. There's a great musical sequence that once you watch it, you will never look at the song the same way. Next on the list, Little Shop of Horrors. Now you can actually watch this on all HBO streaming services, HBO Max, HBO Go, HBO Now. You can also rent it on Amazon for $4. This one's a musical, so I think maybe, the idea of having music playing while weird things are happening is cool, because it breaks it up a little bit in the same way that I would say Beetlejuice does. And there's a lot of really crazy characters. It's pretty campy. Yeah, there's a bunch of scary guys, a lot of familiar faces. Some very special people make cameos, so keep that in mind. Next movie would be What We Do in the Shadows. This was from 2014. Before the show, there was a movie, Taika Waititi. If you're a fan of him, definitely watch this. You can watch this on Amazon for $3. You're talking vampires, there's comedy, and also you can get used to seeing coffins. There's a lot of vampire movies out there, some that are really silly, Twilight, but I think that this one's the best one to start off with because it's comedy as well. So if you can see these characters and be like, hey, vampires can be fun, then that might be a really cool way to start walking into the horror sphere.
When you're a vampire, you become very sexy.
Next up, we got Ghostbusters, 1984 Ghostbusters. You can watch that on Amazon for $3. Now, this delves into paranormal horror, which is one of the main genres, and there's also ghosts. So if you think about it, you can start getting used to these ghosts. Granted, they're not all like this. They look different in every single movie, every single horror movie. But if just getting your mind into that space helps you out. Also, you've got Sigourney Weaver basically taken over by someone else, which is kind of like a possession, kind of. So that's paranormal right there. It's so weird. I mean, I feel like most of us have seen Ghostbusters, but kind of watching it through that lens of I'm preparing myself for horror might be really helpful. There's also gross, gooey things, which there's plenty of gross, gooey things. You can quote me on that in horror movies, so helpful. Next is Attack the Block from 2011. You can watch it on Amazon for $4. This one's a fun one. It's a sci-fi horror, so there's a lot of action sequences too, and John Boyega is in it. 2011 John Boyega, he was such a baby. There's a bunch of weird creatures that are actually weirdly beautiful. I really like them. It's so good. There's a lot of suspense as well. So obviously with horror, sometimes there's that feeling of suspense because you're crap, someone's gonna jump out from somewhere. And I think that this movie does a great job of showing you that while giving you an amazing plot and fun action sequences, so it breaks that feeling up. So just to kind of get you, used to the water, suspense. Next, we got Practical Magic. This is 1998. You can watch it on Amazon for $3 or also watch it on HBO Max. We're talking witchcraft. We are talking hiding of bodies and Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. There's also kind of like a little bit of a romance that happens. So for all my fellow rom-com fans, hey, there is some comedy in this, but it's definitely a great movie to watch during Halloween or anytime that you want to watch a horror movie, which is pretty much any time for me. There's a lot of witchcraft, like I said, that happens, and I think that that's a big umbrella within horror. So if you can kind of get used to that, there are definitely a whole bunch of layers and stepping stones within that genre of like witchcraft and like devil stuff and demons. Those are way later, but I think that this one's a good starting base. Next, we got Monster House 2006. You can watch this on Hulu or rent it on Amazon for $3. So obviously it gets you used to a haunted house. It is animated, but animated movies can get scary, and it also kind of prepares you for, seeing things in animation that might happen in a live action movie. We've all seen movies where it's like, oh my gosh, the house is possessed. I mean, so many horror movies are out there that mainly focus on that. So I think it's a good starting base. You've also got Coraline. People mention that in other lists, but crap, Coraline terrifies the crap out of me because her eyes are so weird. So I would say start off with Monster House. You got Paranorman as well. Then I would go into Coraline. Just like different, steps. Coraline's crazy. If you don't agree, that's okay. Let me know why you're not scared of Coraline. It's creepy eyes. Next, you got Scream, 1996. You can watch it on Amazon for $4. The best slasher to start off with, I would say. And obviously you've got sequels, so you can always make your way up from there. This was also like a really good example of a final girl. And it is scary at times, but it's got that teen vibe to it, so I feel like it's pretty accessible. And also you've got a little bit of a home invasion situation going on, but just a little bit. It is pretty scary, I think, sometimes, but I believe in you guys, and I think that this is a good starting point. And now the last two movies. Zombieland, 2009. You can rent it on Amazon for $3. I mean, guys, there's zombies and living in an apocalyptic world. I think those two are pretty big, especially, they usually go hand in hand. These zombies are not too scary. If you see the girl with all the gifts, those are scarier zombies in that they're fast. Zombieland is better because they're not too crazy fast. And there's something about, slow zombies. You're like, I got this. There's also Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead is great if you want to get into zombies. And these are like the junior versions of more intense movies. Yeah, it's a fun one. I don't think Zombieland is necessarily scary, so good starting point. And the last one, we've been talking about all of these movies and how you get into horror and everything, but it's important to know where everything started. This would be with OG Frankenstein, right? So 1931, you can rent it on Amazon for $4. We're talking about the classic Universal horror movie monsters, Wolfman, all of those, like Dracula. I think it's important to watch those and see how it all started because they did such a great job in the 30s and 40s to show us these scary monsters. But now, it being almost 100 years later, you can see how not real they look. And if you can see those movies and detach yourself from them and be like, oh, like that's a fun little effect, but I know that's not real, then that might help you moving into horror movies that are more current and knowing like, hey, wow, they did such a great job. So if you can watch OG Frankenstein and just see that, I feel like that would be really helpful to know where it all started and how to proceed from there on. So I do want to know from you guys what movies you would add to the list. Which ones have you seen? Which ones are you like, okay, fine, I'll try, we'll see. And where are my fellow horror movie fans? Where are you? I want to see you. Hi. Take care. Keep staying in Sideshow. Bye.
Be sure to subscribe by clicking the S icon on your screen and click that bell icon to be notified whenever a new video is posted. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to let your geek side show.